Hello Golden State Warriors fans, we are here once again to bring you the latest news related to our team, and I would like to emphasize how committed we are to improving our performance to achieve great results. Before we dive into this intriguing news, I kindly request you to show your support by clicking the like button, and if you are not yet subscribed to our channel, I invite you all to join us on an exciting journey. Remember to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything.
Injuries, asterisks, and a ring? The Thunder just joined the Warriors club. It seems every NBA championship comes with a price, and not just for the players on the court. The confetti had barely settled in Oklahoma City when the whispers began. Lucky breaks. Injured opponents. An asterisk-worthy title. Sound familiar? It should, because this isn't a new narrative, it's a ritual. One that resurfaces almost every time a new champion is crowned. The Thunder's 2025 title has become the latest lightning rod for this familiar conversation. When Tyrese Haliburton tore his Achilles in the first quarter of Game 7, social media did what it always does, it erupted. OKC got bailed out, echoed across timelines. And when a hobbled Aaron Gordon limped through the playoffs, and the Thunder barely escaped a gritty Nuggets team in a 7-game slugfest, the chorus only grew louder. The sentiment? They didn't earn it, they caught a break. But here's the truth, this isn't a new complaint. It's not even about OKC. This has been the background noise of greatness for decades, and it says more about us than it does about the teams we question. Warriors Reflections. Been there, heard that. Ask the Golden State Warriors. They know this drill all too well. 2015, Mike Conley played through a fractured face, and the Cavs were down both Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love. A title with a side of skepticism. 2017, Kawhi Leonard was famously taken out by Zaza Pachulia in Game 1 of the WCF. The Spurs were leading when it happened. Kawhi never returned. The Warriors swept. 2018, Chris Paul tweaked his hamstring with Houston up 3-2 in the West Finals. Golden State stormed back and won Games 6 and 7. 2022, after 2 years out of the playoff spotlight, the Warriors returned refreshed. Their first opponent? A Nuggets team missing Jamal Murray, Jokic's co-star and Denver's key to contention. Every time, the same asterisk talk followed. But what time and winning proved was simple. When you keep showing up, those asterisks fade. As Brad Botkin once put it after Kawhi's injury in 2017, the Warriors don't have anything to prove, but that doesn't mean fans don't want to see, don't deserve to see, what could have been. That's the real root of the asterisk conversation. It's not about discrediting the champs. It's about mourning the moments we lost. When Haliburton went down, what disappeared wasn't OKC's legitimacy. It was our shot at seeing two rising superstars clash at full strength, in the highest stakes moment. Excellence isn't circumstantial. True dynasties aren't born from one clean, flawless title run. They're built on sustained excellence across different circumstances. That's what made the Warriors so undeniable. They didn't just win in 2015 and ride the wave. They adapted, evolved, and kept winning. Whether it was with Kevin Durant or without him, they adjusted to every new context and proved themselves all over again. And let's not kid ourselves, every dynasty got a lucky break somewhere. The Warriors locked up Steph Curry on a team-friendly deal because of his early ankle injuries. The Spurs landed Tim Duncan thanks to a tank year when David Robinson got hurt. The Bulls only got Michael Jordan because the Blazers picked Sam Bowie instead. But none of that would have mattered if those teams hadn't been ready to capitalize. Luck creates the moment. Talent, vision, and culture are what turn it into legacy. That's exactly what we're seeing with OKC. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander isn't just a star, he's a connector, the kind of player who elevates everyone around him. Chet Holmgren isn't just promising, he's the modern prototype, a big who stretches the floor and protects the rim. This isn't a fluke. It's the result of years of smart drafting, smart development, and a front office that knows exactly what it's doing. Can OKC build a dynasty? So, can the Thunder become the NBA's next great dynasty? The early signs say yes, and not because of the injuries they avoided, but because of the foundation they've built. Sam Presti has constructed a deep, flexible roster with cap room to add more. Their stars are young but battle-tested. And perhaps most importantly, they've shown the one trait dynasties always have, the ability to adapt. Golden State had to face that same test after 2015. Was their title a one-off? They answered with Durant, with reinvention, and eventually with another ring post-Durant. Dynasties aren't defined by one magical run. They're defined by what comes after. Can you keep winning once the world knows your name, and is preparing to take you down? That's the question OKC has to answer now. This title isn't the end of their story, it's just chapter 1. The true test lies in how they handle success, how they evolve under pressure, and whether they can turn this breakthrough into a reign. Because dynasties aren't built in perfect conditions. They're forged by teams talented and prepared enough to seize the moment when the stars align, and keep doing it again and again. If OKC can do that, all these asterisk debates? They'll fade into historical footnotes. Just ask the Warriors. Dub Hub, Mike Dunleavy Jr. expresses optimism about Jonathan Kuminga's restricted free agency. Bringing you the latest Warriors and NBA news for Tuesday, June 24th. Golden State Warriors general manager Mike Dunleavy Jr. met with reporters on Monday for his annual pre-draft press conference. While most of the attention centered around Thursday's NBA draft, Dunleavy also addressed one of the most pivotal questions looming over Golden State's offseason: the future of Jonathan Kuminga. Kuminga, who just wrapped up his fourth NBA season, averaged 15.3 points per game on 45.4% shooting during the regular season. At times, he looked like a breakout star in the making, especially when given a steady role. But an ankle injury, coupled with the mid-season arrival of Jimmy Butler, disrupted his rhythm down the stretch. As a restricted free agent, Kuminga can explore offers from other teams, but the Warriors hold the right to match any deal he receives. The twist? With so few teams projected to have significant cap space this summer, a sizable offer sheet may never materialize. In that case, a sign-and-trade could become the most practical route, especially if both sides believe a fresh start is in everyone's best interest. But trading Kuminga won't be simple. Because of the NBA's base year compensation rules, only 50% of his new salary would count as outgoing salary in a trade. That creates a serious financial hurdle for Golden State, especially if they want to avoid triggering the league's increasingly restrictive apron penalties. In other words, the Warriors have a tough decision ahead. Whether they commit to Kuminga long-term or use his value to acquire assets, how they handle this situation could shape the entire direction of their offseason. He's one of the team's most intriguing young talents, athletic, versatile, and still brimming with untapped potential. But time is ticking, and the front office will need to act decisively. What happens with Kuminga might not just be a roster move, it could be the move that defines the Warriors' next chapter. For more updates on this and the rest of the NBA landscape, here's your full roundup for Tuesday, June 24th. What makes Kuminga's situation particularly complex is the contrast between his potential and the Warriors' current timeline. Golden State still has Stephen Curry at the heart of its roster, and while he continues to defy age, the front office is clearly navigating a tension between building for the now and investing in the next era. Kuminga sits right at the center of that balancing act. At just 22 years old, he represents the best of the Warriors' youth movement, an explosive two-way wing who, when confident and healthy, can swing games with his energy alone. But the big question remains: can the Warriors afford to wait for him to fully blossom, especially if they're still trying to compete for titles with Curry? Inside the front office's dilemma. According to sources close to the team, Golden State has yet to make a formal decision regarding Kuminga's future. Dunleavy Jr. in his press conference called Kuminga a player we still believe in, and noted that his development over the last year has been significant. That's a vote of confidence, but not exactly a commitment. Behind the scenes, league executives reportedly view Kuminga as a highly desirable trade chip, especially for younger rebuilding teams looking to acquire upside talent. If the Warriors opt to engage in trade talks, they could look to package Kuminga as part of a larger deal, perhaps in pursuit of frontcourt help, more reliable shooting, or a cost-effective veteran who fits Steve Kerr's system more seamlessly. But here's the rub: any trade involving Kuminga needs to match salary mechanics under the new CBA, and that won't be easy. The Warriors are already dancing around the second apron, and with potential contract extensions for players like Moses Moody and negotiations with Klay Thompson still unresolved, the cap sheet is under major strain. Fan reactions and locker room dynamics. The uncertainty around Kuminga hasn't gone unnoticed by fans, or his teammates. In a recent interview, Draymond Green praised Kuminga's growth, saying, "He's learning how to impact the game even when he's not scoring. That's maturity." Stephen Curry, too, has voiced support, noting Kuminga's improved decision-making and defensive instincts. Meanwhile, on social media, Warriors fans appear split. Some are adamant the team must retain Kuminga and finally give him a consistent role. Others believe he's the key to upgrading the roster around Curry before the championship window closes completely. Looking ahead, the Warriors' next steps with Kuminga could signal much more than just a roster move. It might reveal the franchise's long-term vision. Are they doubling down on the remaining prime years of Curry by chasing a win-now trade? Or are they threading the needle, hoping to stay competitive while developing the next generation? Whatever the answer, the decision won't be easy, and the outcome will reverberate across the Bay Area and beyond. As one Western Conference scout put it, if they let Kuminga walk or move him in a deal, they better be sure of what they're getting back. You don't find athletes like him every day. The clock is ticking, and the future of Golden State's most promising young player now stands at the crossroads of hope, strategy, and high-stakes decision-making. Stay tuned, this offseason is just getting started. Mike Dunleavy Jr. highlights 2 Warriors second-rounders who exceeded expectations. You'd be lucky. Behind the star trio of Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler, the Golden State Warriors are quietly getting more than expected from a few under-the-radar players, especially when it comes to late draft picks. With their 2025 first-round pick sent to the Miami Heat as part of the trade that brought Butler to the Bay, the Warriors will be making their selection at no. 41, unless they move up or down on draft night. And while it's no secret that second-round gems are rare, history has shown they're out there. Just ask Nikola Jokic or Manu Ginobili. For every success story like those, however, there are dozens of second-rounders who barely make it out of training camp. Still, Golden State has a history of finding value where others don't look, and they may have done it again in recent seasons. Dunleavy Jr. shouts out Jackson Davis and Post. In a recent media appearance, Warriors GM Mike Dunleavy Jr. gave credit where it's due to second-round big men Tracy Jackson Davis and Quinton Post, both of whom played meaningful roles for the team this season. Although Jackson Davis was technically drafted 57th overall by the Wizards in 2023, he's only ever suited up for Golden State. Post, meanwhile, was selected 52nd overall by the Warriors in the 2024 draft. These last couple of years, we've been fortunate, Dunleavy said. Between QP and Tracy, we've had guys come in and contribute right away. You'd be lucky to get that from a second-round pick. While Dunleavy was careful not to oversell expectations for pick no. 41 this year, he emphasized that the team is committed to doing its homework. You've got to stay realistic about what that part of the draft usually yields, he added. But we'll dive in, scout thoroughly, and try to find the best possible player, someone who can help this franchise in a real way. Finding value where others don't look. It wouldn't be the first time the Warriors pulled a surprise from deep in the draft. Draymond Green, the heart and soul of the team's dynasty, was picked 35th overall back in 2012. Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, Kevin Looney, and more recently, Brandon Podziemski, all came into the league with question marks, and all found ways to impact winning in Golden State's system. Yes, the team famously missed with James Wiseman at no. 2 in 2020, but that's the exception, not the rule. When it comes to identifying undervalued talent, the Warriors have been ahead of the curve more often than not. What's next at pick 41? In our full mock draft, the Warriors are projected to select Chaz Lanier, a 5-year college player out of Tennessee who's seen as NBA-ready and capable of contributing immediately. That kind of maturity and readiness could be exactly what Golden State needs, especially with a roster built to win now. With Curry still elite, Butler newly arrived, and Green anchoring the defense, the front office knows the clock is ticking. They'll need players who can plug in and produce, not just prospects with theoretical upside. And luckily for them, the 2025 class is shaping up to be one of the deepest in recent memory. There's genuine optimism in the building that even at no. 41, a difference maker could still be waiting. A franchise that believes in long shots. If there's one thing we've learned about the Warriors, it's that they don't always follow the script. This is an organization that thrives on belief in its culture, its development program, and its ability to see something in a player that others miss. So yes, a late second-round pick might not get the headlines. But as Dunleavy and the Warriors have proven time and again, that's exactly where they've found some of their most meaningful pieces. And come draft night, don't be surprised if they do it again. Scouting the future, what the Warriors are really looking for. While much of the attention has naturally been on the top of the draft, Golden State's approach to the no. 41 pick, and their overall draft strategy speaks volumes about the direction of the franchise. According to team sources, the Warriors are specifically targeting mature, high IQ prospects who can slide into a structured system and contribute in specific roles, rather than raw, long-term projects. That's what made players like Quinton Post and Tracy Jackson-Davis so valuable. They weren't just second-round steals, they were ready. Jackson-Davis brought toughness, mobility, and an underrated passing ability. Post, on the other hand, impressed the coaching staff with his floor spacing, rim protection, and professional mindset. Both players gave Steve Kerr something every coach craves: trust in the second unit. "We don't have time to wait 3 years to see if someone might develop," said one team insider. "This core is still about competing now. So the player we take at 41 has to be ready to contribute in year one, even in a limited role." The Jimmy Butler factor. The blockbuster addition of Jimmy Butler has also shifted the front office's calculus. With Butler in the mix, alongside Curry and Green, the window to chase another championship is open, if not wide, at least cracked. That means every roster spot matters. And that's where the draft becomes less about finding the next superstar, and more about finding the right fit. A second-rounder who can stretch the floor, defend without fouling, or simply bring high-effort energy off the bench could become a critical piece in tight playoff moments. Golden State is also aware of its cap limitations. With 3 max-level contracts on the books and the luxury tax breathing down their necks, affordable, controllable contracts, like those of second-round picks, are incredibly valuable. Hitting on a player at no. 41 could be the difference between depth and dead weight. Fan base watching closely. Warriors fans have become some of the most draft-savvy in the league. They've seen the franchise turn underdog prospects into household names, and also watched the highly touted James Wiseman experiment fall apart. Now, with the roster in transition, there's a palpable hunger for the front office to get it right. Social media chatter already includes speculation about players like Kansas forward KJ Adams Jr., European guard Juan Nunez, and Michigan State's Tyson Walker, all experienced, versatile options who could be available in the mid to late second round. There's also increasing interest in international prospects, with the Warriors reportedly doing deeper scouting in Spain, France, and Serbia this year. Given their recent success with hybrid forwards and stretch bigs, it wouldn't be surprising to see them take a swing on a less familiar name with clear developmental upside. A defining draft, even without a first-round pick. Ultimately, this draft could quietly become a defining moment for GM Mike Dunleavy Jr. It's his second year fully in charge, and this offseason marks the first time he's truly reshaping the roster around a new timeline, post-Jordan Poole, post-Wiseman, and now with Jimmy Butler in tow. "Every team says they value the draft," Dunleavy said. "But for us, it's not just talk. Our franchise was built on finding guys who weren't supposed to be stars, and giving them the platform to prove everyone wrong." That's a message not just for the player they'll select at no. 41, but for the league as a whole. Because if history has taught us anything, it's this: the Warriors may not always pick early, but they rarely pick wrong. What Jonathan Kuminga could bring to the Chicago Bulls, and the trade domino that's holding everything back. The Chicago Bulls haven't given up on Jonathan Kuminga. After showing strong interest in him back at the 2024 trade deadline, they're circling back in 2025, and this time, the fit might be better than ever. Kuminga is one of the most intriguing young players on the Golden State Warriors roster. With elite athleticism and raw scoring talent, he has all the tools to become a star in the right system. But there's one problem: Steve Kerr's system may not be the right one. Kerr has never fully committed to Kuminga, and the 22-year-old forward knows it. Add in the arrival of Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green's continuing presence, and Kuminga suddenly finds himself buried behind 2 veterans, both in minutes and in opportunity. He wants a bigger role. He wants to start. And that simply isn't happening in Golden State right now. That's where Chicago comes in. The Bulls have been tracking Kuminga for over a year, and it's easy to see why. He's a high-upside wing with explosive scoring ability, defensive potential, and flashes of shot-making that hint at something special. They nearly landed him in a deal involving Alex Caruso, a move that felt imminent before Caruso was ultimately dealt to Oklahoma City instead. The Bulls see untapped potential, and a perfect pairing with Giddey. Kuminga's fit in Chicago makes a lot of sense. He's a powerful, transition-ready wing who thrives in space, something the Bulls can offer, especially now that they've added Josh Giddey in the Caruso trade. Giddey's playmaking and feel for the game pair beautifully with Kuminga's athleticism and slashing. This isn't just a flyer. This could be a foundation for the next version of the Bulls. Golden State, however, knows they can't just give Kuminga away. Despite his inconsistency, he's coming off a promising postseason run, averaging 15.3 points on 48.4% shooting and hitting 40% from 3 over 8 playoff games. That kind of production from a 22-year-old on a crowded roster isn't just impressive, it's a glimpse into what he could be if unleashed. Kuminga is still scratching the surface. But it won't happen while he's stuck behind future Hall of Famers in Golden State. In Chicago, he wouldn't just get minutes, he'd get room to grow, to make mistakes, and to become a centerpiece. So what's the holdup? It's not that the Bulls don't want Kuminga. It's not even that the Warriors are unwilling to deal him. It's that the entire trade market is frozen, waiting on one move. Kevin Durant. With several teams, including the Bulls, watching what happens with KD, front offices are holding their fire. Everyone's waiting for the first domino to fall. The Desmond Bane deal was an outlier, but most contenders and retooling teams are bracing for the Durant effect. Once he's moved, it could unlock a cascade of trades, including Kuminga. Golden State knows this. They don't want to rush into a deal with Chicago or Miami just because those are the only offers on the table right now. They're waiting, hoping that once the Durant saga resolves, more teams jump in with better packages. The Warriors want leverage. The Bulls want Kuminga. And the entire NBA is watching the clock. What comes next? If the Bulls want to make a serious play, a sign and trade might be their only path forward. But they'll need to act fast. Once the market opens up post-Durant, competition will rise fast. Miami could re-enter the picture. So could teams like Brooklyn, Toronto, or even San Antonio. The Warriors are playing this smart. They're patient. They know what they have in Kuminga. But they also know they can't waste his value by sitting him behind veterans another year. At some point, a decision will have to be made. Is Kuminga part of Golden State's future, or someone else's present? For Chicago, the answer is clear. They believe in his ceiling. They believe in his fit. And once the right domino falls, they're ready to make their move. The league is watching, and waiting. Front offices around the NBA are keeping a close eye on the Kuminga situation, knowing full well he could become one of the most impactful young pieces available this offseason. He's only 22, on a rookie deal, and has flashed two-way upside that scouts and executives covet. But as long as the Kevin Durant situation remains unresolved, the Warriors are in no rush. They're playing the long game. League insiders say Golden State has received preliminary interest from as many as 6 teams, including the Bulls, Heat, Raptors, and Nets, all of whom see Kuminga as a potential breakout star. Several Western Conference teams are also interested, but the Warriors are wary of strengthening a direct rival. Meanwhile, Golden State's internal timeline is shifting. With Klay Thompson likely walking in free agency and Draymond Green entering the twilight of his career, there's real pressure to retool, not rebuild, around Steph Curry. That makes Kuminga's situation more complicated. He's young and talented, but can he contribute consistently enough to win now? Sources close to the team suggest that owner Joe Lacob is pushing for maximum value in any deal involving Kuminga, and won't sign off unless the return includes either a high-level rotational player or a pick that could be flipped quickly in a larger package. In other words, they're not giving him up for anything less than a real asset. For Chicago, this could be a turning point. The Bulls are quietly undergoing a rebrand. With DeMar DeRozan's future uncertain and Zach LaVine's name constantly swirling in trade rumors, Chicago is looking to shift into a new identity, one built on youth, versatility, and upside. Josh Giddey was the first domino. Jonathan Kuminga could be the second. Head coach Billy Donovan is reportedly high on Kuminga's potential and believes the team system could unlock the forward's aggressiveness in transition and his developing outside shot. Paired with Giddey, Kobe White, and Patrick Williams, the Bulls could finally build a young core with real direction. Fans are excited too. Bulls Twitter has been buzzing with mock trades and Kuminga highlights, while Chicago media outlets have framed him as the missing piece to a long-overdue youth movement. But it won't come cheap. Golden State may require a combination of picks and players, possibly including Patrick Williams or Dallin Terry, or a future protected first-rounder. The Bulls must also navigate the complex math of a sign-and-trade scenario, depending on what kind of money Kuminga could command if he continues his rise. Durant's decision, the market trigger everyone's waiting on. Around the league, there's growing belief that once Kevin Durant is finally moved, likely to the Miami Heat, according to the latest buzz, the rest of the trade market will burst wide open. Teams have been holding onto their assets, waiting to see who gets KD and what's left in his wake. That domino could trigger several other moves, including a reshuffling in the East, as teams like Boston and Milwaukee try to keep pace with a supercharged Heat squad. Secondary deals involving veterans like Brandon Ingram, OG Anunoby, or Tyus Jones. And most notably, renewed offers for players like Kuminga, who could slide into a bigger role on a rising team. For now, the Warriors are content to wait. But the moment Durant is traded, the phones will ring, and the offers for Kuminga will start to get real. Final word. Jonathan Kuminga is not just another young talent. He's a bet on upside. On growth. On what could be, not just what is. And for a team like the Chicago Bulls, who've spent years drifting between mediocrity and identity crises, he represents something bigger, a new beginning. Whether that move happens tomorrow or 3 weeks from now depends on how fast the dominoes fall. But one thing is clear, the Bulls aren't just interested anymore. They're ready.